Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to view Chucky Season 2, Episode 3. So, within this episode, I do have to admit, the episode does really stretch, but I think there is some really good payouts in this episode that might go on and be even better than prior episodes. And so, like, it does kind of like even one another out as far as the grading goes, but still, I think that this episode was better than either of the other ones. So whatever highest grade that I can go on and give this episode compared to any of the others would definitely be the obvious thing to do here. And so definitely I would probably state that this would be like a solid good episode. I kind of like where all the dialogue is heading. But really it comes down to the fact that Chucky is to have gone on and killed multiple people in this episode, and I think that is the real takeaway here, as well as also the payout by the end of the episode is to go on and see not only one Chucky who is seemed to have gone on and got manipulated, but then also to see yet another Chucky by the end of this episode. So, teeing it up about this episode, we have both Devin, Lexi, and Jake, who are all looking at a tied up Chucky. So, they're realizing that the Chucky will not go on and give them answers. So, Jake comes up with the real kind of question of like, well, like what if we can go on and reprogram this doll to give us answers? It's like, well, how do we do that? They end up figuring out or rationalizing to brainwash the doll. And so we then come to find out that this may or may not even be working. You can't be 100% sure. But then by the end of the episode, we are, of course, to realize that a Chucky has gone on to be doing killing, but we're not sure quite what Chucky. And by the end of the episode, we will go on and figure that out. We also have some nosy people for, of course, both Devin and Jake and Lexi. We are to have Father Bryce, who is really to be looking into both Jake and Devin. And we have Trevor, who it seems is to be getting fairly nosy on Lexi. So, with that said, that covers most of the episode. We end up getting some more Nadine stuff than we did in prior episode. So, great for that, but I'm not quite sure why that matters or where that's going. So, yeah, I guess that has to go on to just be a good thing still. I liked Nadine. I ended up watching the real actress is of course named Bella, and I ended up watching her on like I don't know if I stated this the last week, but I saw her on Mighty Ducks Game Changers, so it's like when I saw her on the show, I was like, oh my god, yeah. So, anyways, I think it's about that time to just go into spoilers about this episode. And so, with that said, because there's really not much going on. There really isn't. So, hopefully, it's going to take me a quick number of minutes to just talk about this episode in spoilers. So, let's go on into that double 5 time territory. It's about that time yet again to, of course, go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time we get spoiled this episode. So, we start off this episode with Jake, Devin, and Lexi and Nadine to be with the Chucky doll. And it seems that Devin is going to stick around while all the other characters go off to their classes, and they all state that Devin is to, of course, be sick. So we have Jake, who makes his way to Father Bryce, and Father Bryce is asking Jake, hey, where is this doll? Because you were the last one to have seen it, because everyone else was to have not been in this room, all but you, and you were the last one to see the doll, so obviously you should have it, but where is it? So Jake is now wanting to give up the doll, and Father Bryce is to want this doll back by X number of hours, days, whichever. So we have, of course, Jake, who is to go on and talk to Sister Catherine after their lesson together. And so it seems Jake is going on and telling Sister Catherine about him going on and having Devin get sick. And so we have Sister Catherine. It's like, well, hey, like, what could he be sick about? Could he be worried about something, or like, what could he really be like sick from? And Jake's like, I don't know. So Sister Catherine is going on and telling Jake, it's like, well, hey, like, you guys can go on and like talk to me about anything and like confess anything. And so we have Lexi, who is taking medication that she has on her. And so when Trevor is to confront Lexi about this, Lexi is to try to state that, oh, well, this is my medication. And Trevor's like, that's unusual, because any of the medication they are to keep here in like a private locked and key thing. And that also the little cylinder that Lexi's to go on and have, this medication is obviously for Lexi's mother and not for her. And so while Lexi and Trevor are talking, we have a moment where Trevor is to state to Lexi that her mother could not go on and become mayor again, as she was to have lost the election while Alexi was away at this school. And Lexi's like, "Oh my God, my mother lost," and he's like, "Yeah." So we have Lexi walking off, and so Trevor ends up kind of uh, kind of outroing her out. So when Lexi, Devin, and Jake all come back together, we really just want to have Devin, who wants to kill this doll off. And they were thinking about just kind of torturing the doll, putting a knife to his eye. And they realized or rationalized that that just couldn't work. So what they did instead was to brainwash Chucky by kind of putting these things into Chucky's eyes and having him just consistently watch these horror movies over and over and over again, which really was just John Carpenter's The Thing. So if we haven't already been showcasing this in the Halloween movie that currently came out, we also have Chucky, who is also watching John Carpenter's The Thing on the loop until Chucky's to go on and barf from watching it. And then we turn around and have Nadine, who is to force Chucky to watch this unicorn show, where again he barfs. So we finally have a breaking point for this Chucky doll, and it is to finally go on and seemingly be nice to all of these characters. But again, how can you really buy that this has had this doll 100% change? And it's also kind of funny that at first, like Chucky, when watching The Thing, was to like state like, "Hey, give me the popcorn. Like I'm gonna watch this, whatever you guys have for me, over and over and over again." But so, but I guess without sleep and like, excuse me, this doll ends up just kind of going on and just finally having a meltdown. So the Chucky doll ends up also getting out of all of the ropes that he was tied to, and he was to go on to mention that uh, during one of the videos, like all the ties just came loose, and so he could just have gone on and escaped whenever he wanted to. But so Chucky is going on and asking for food, and so Jake is like, "Okay, I'll go on and get you something." So we have just Nadine with this kitchen knife, and because Lexi also leaves because she can't handle being with Chucky, as of course when Lexi is to go on and talk to Chucky, we have Lexi who brings up Junior, and Chucky's like, "Junior, that sounds like a nice name. Junior, 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 Junior." So because this doll is just bananas. So Lexi is to go on and just be upset with this doll, and so she leaves, and so that leaves to just have Nadine just left with the doll, and even Nadine leaves to go on and try to get a confession from this priest. And so the first time she ends up going on to go to this confession, the priest has really no interest in wanting to hear this girl out because it'll take her forever to get everything that she wants to state out. Because she goes on and mentions, like, "Yeah, I think we should probably take 20, 30 minutes. Maybe we should just go on, say, 45. So we also are to have another box. It looks like the size of a doll to be brought here. And now I'm just waiting for another like box to come in that we're thinking that another Chucky doll is going to be in it, and come to find out it's not going to be that. I think that would be pretty funny. But so, excuse me. So we go on to have another Chucky doll who is starting to kill off people. We have, while Nadine is going through this confession, and we have this priest who is going on and hearing her out, the Chucky doll ends up grabbing uh, a string and choking this priest out from behind. And so Nadine is asked, is like, "Well, hey, like, are you listening?" And the priest is like, "Yeah, sure." As Chucky's now talk with an accent. So Nadine is to ask what her penance will be, and Chucky ends up telling her 400 Hail Marys, and so Nadine is like, "Man, like that seems like a pretty bad punishment," and so it's like, "Well, hey, that's your punishment." So Nadine has to consistently go and recite the prayer, the Hail Mary, 400 times. She's going throughout this whole place and trying to recite it. So we have Lexi, who is getting to a breaking point to where she's to desperately need these pills to go on and feel better. And Lexi is to even go on and be tempted to try to steal drugs from the place that they are holding them. And so Lexi goes in the bathroom and is to drop one of these drugs into this drain as we start to, I guess, realize that Lexi is running out on her supply. So Nadine is to find out that Lexi is in the bathroom, and so finally Lexi confesses that she's kind of had it up to here with a lot of things. That she, of course, hates Trevor. She, of course, hates this place. She has had so much stress about the whole like Chucky doll thing, and that she really hates that doll, and so on. So there's a lot of stuff that is just kind of escalating here to have Lexi just almost want to bury herself in medication. And so Lexi and Nadine go back to where the Chucky doll is and find it missing. Come to find out, after Bryce is to be following Jake and Devin around, for Jake and Devin to be talking about what they're going to do next, and Father Bryce is to notice both of these characters going on and kissing one another, to where Father Bryce is like, oh, okay, all right, like, so that's the secret that these characters are having between the two of them. So Father Bryce goes on to punish Devin by making him go on to clean all of these certain things that are at this church. And Father Bryce ends up going back to his office to find the Chucky doll there. And Jake is to also have talked to Father Bryce to tell him to stop punishing him through Devin. And so, but once Father Bryce finds the doll, he releases Devin of his obligation to clean. So, come to find out, we have Trevor that is to try and go on to put incriminating evidence of drugs in Lexi's room, so that way Trevor can have Lexi stay here forever or until she's 18. And so Trevor is trying to put this drugs in a part of Lexi's room, but then we are to have Trevor, who ends up getting his heart ripped out by this other Chucky. So when Jake, Devin, and Lexi all return to this one room, finding this body, we have the guys drag Trevor into this other room, because we of course have Sister Ruth that is doing this inspection. So we have Nadine, who quickly just tosses sheets over the blood, and they are to put all these stuffed animals down there, and they're just kind of laying on this on these sheets and playing with these stuffed animals. And so when Sister Ruth is to make her way through this room, start to look around, we have Nadine, who has so many questions that she's rattling off against Sister Ruth to annoy her and then just force her to leave. So now I'm assuming they're gonna have to go on and get rid of that body at some point, but they don't really showcase that. So near the so they're now going on and asking, it's like, well, hey, where is the other Chucky doll, or where's the Chucky doll at? So come to find out, the seemingly nice Chucky doll is to be in Father Bryce's office, and we are to come to find out that the other Chucky doll is to actually be this kind of steroided or souped up, much more muscular version of Chucky. As we go on, and when uh, the Super Chucky ends up killing Trevor, he ends up talking about him missing arm day, and then he never misses arm day. And so it's like, okay, so this is to be the more muscular version of Chucky. So, with that said, man, this is a really quick review, but I feel like I've gone on and I've already kind of covered everything for the most point of this episode, because yeah, like, it's pretty straightforward, and then it's pretty much that's it. So let me know in the comments below how you felt about this episode. Also, let me know if I had forgotten anything, uh, because yeah, like, this one was a very thin one. So with that said, I'm trying to think if there's anything left for me to go on and state here, but I think that's it. So I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody. I know I didn't really get into much of dialogue and so on and so forth, but either way, we end up finding out a little bit of backstory of Nadine, and how, like, a lot of people can go on and kind of just see her as a like a crazed person or a crazy person. But so, other than that, I think, yeah, that's all. Because we find out that Nadine is to have taken, like, Krav Maga and whatever. It's like, I guess she was not to actually be on the Cobra Kai show, so there isn't any, like, takeaway from there. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that's a reference to her being in Cobra Kai, but she wasn't in Cobra Kai. She was in Mighty Ducks Game Changers. So that's hockey. So, anyways, yeah, that's it. So goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.